In today's episode, we have a guitar that's 65 years old. And yes, it's a Gibson, so I'm very happy. In today's episode, we're checking out a 1961 es-345, and it cost just over £11,000. But let's just say it's had a rocking life, as it's had a few repairs and modifications. I am so excited for today's episode. I can't wait to get into this 1961 es-345 today. So sit back and relax, grab yourself some popcorn, and let's get straight into this Squealing Pig Guitars video. Hello guitarists, welcome back to Squealing Pig Guitars, the home of luxury shred machines here in Nottingham, England. My name is Keightley, and today we have a gorgeous 1961 es-345 to show you. I absolutely love it when we get these vintage guitars in. It's always great to see a time capsule in the form of an instrument. And this one is no short of character. It's had a few repairs during its life, and it's a real good example of a player-grade 1961 es-345. Let's be honest, anything from 1950s and 1960s is normally an incredibly expensive guitar. However, this one is slightly discounted because of the repairs. But it still comes in at £11,000, so it's definitely quite expensive. This guitar is a true example of a player-grade guitar. Basically, it's had a few repairs and modifications in its life which reduce its value slightly, but it'll still be very valuable to a player. And I have to say, this one is incredibly special, but more on that later. Of course, here at Squealing Pig Guitars, our main mission is to find the best guitars on the planet. So I'll be rating this es-345 out of 10 at the end of the video. So make sure to stay tuned till then. But let's not dawdle any further. Let's go to the workbench and check out this beautiful 1961 guitar. So guitarists, we're now in the workbench section of this video. So let's crack open this 1961 es-345. So guitarists, as you can see, we've got the guitar case on the workbench here. And this is the first thing we need to mention in today's episode, that this is not the original case. It's been replaced by a spider case. This is very normal for kind of 1960s guitars. Obviously, a lot of the cases disintegrate or they just get lost and sometimes sold on, as obviously they fetch crazy money. But opening it up, oh, one more latch. Opening it up, we've got a stunning piece of rock and roll history by an ES 1961 345. So one thing the Murphy Lab can't replicate is the smell. This smells like my granddad's garage. It smells smoky, it's got a really nice kind of hue all over this guitar, and the hardware is aged to perfection. Well, it's been played to perfection, let's use that terminology. The deep red on this guitar is truly fantastic. I love the gold hardware, and of course all the cool quirks of the baritone and the stereo output jack. But let's go over the specs on the workbench. So I've decided to go handheld with the camera just because I wanted to show you this beautiful wood grain. It's such a unique look to this guitar. It's not flamey, it's not bird's eye, it's just kind of got some nice kind of hues to it. It looks like a fire, it's so nice. So as mentioned previously, we do have a few repairs on this guitar. The first one is the neck break. Let me turn it around and show you. So the first repair is a neck repair, basically. It's had its headstock broken at some point in time. It's been repaired to such a high professional degree that I actually can't see where that seam line is for the headstock break, so well done to whoever repaired this. We also have a re-stamped serial number, as the back of the neck was refinished as a result of the headstock break. Other than that, this guitar is completely original. We have the original PAFs. We are going to get these out shortly just to check that. We have the baritone, which is still in action, and we have the stereo output jack. A lot of people would actually change this to a mono jack as it's more convenient. Obviously, with a stereo output jack, you have to use a stereo cable. But just having a look at this guitar, we've got some lovely checking all over this in the vertical kind of direction. It's absolutely stunning. But let's quickly go over the specs. So let's start off with the construction of this guitar. In terms of body shape, it looks very similar to a 335. I don't think there's actually any difference. It might have slightly thicker ears here, but let me know if there's a difference down below. But basically, it's maple on the top, maple on the sides, and maple on the back, and it's all laminated with a maple center block. Of course, it's a semi-hollow construction, so you get these nice kind of F-holes on here. Moving on to the fretboard and neck, we've got a rosewood fingerboard on this one with a mahogany neck. It's got a really nice kind of slim profile on this one. Very nice indeed. And we have the split parallelogram inlays, which are absolutely iconic. Each one of these inlays has a beautiful kind of yellow hue over it. Obviously 65 years of playing, it looks incredible. I believe this has also had a refret. As you can see, there's no fret nibs on this one.
Moving on to the headstock, we have the stereo truss rod cover. We've got the crown inlay, again, has a really nice kind of patina over it, and the Gibson logo. And then we have the Gibson Deluxe tuners. I believe a couple of these ferrules have been changed, but I think the tuners themselves are original. So this guitar has the original hardware and electronics. We're actually going to get these PAFs out for you in a little bit. We've got an ABR1 bridge on this one and an aluminium stop tailpiece. We've got the three-way switch and the two volumes and two tones, sorry, with the reflector style knobs that you see in the 60s. We also have a Veritone on this one. This has 5 positions, and it basically just kind of changes the resistance sent to the pickup, I believe. I personally think that these are kind of useless. The only 2 usable tones, in my opinion, are the first and the second, and then after that, it just sounds so thin and horrible. But it's just one of them quirky kind of historical features, and I have to say this one has some really nice kind of playing wear on it. But now let's crack open these pickups and see if they really are PAFs. Okay, so I've undone the pickups now. Let's see what we've got inside. So on the neck position, we've got exactly what we're looking for. It says pattern applied for, obviously PAF. Let's have a look in the bridge one. And we have the same thing, another pattern applied for. These set of pickups are completely original. These PAFs are so expensive, especially the original ones. We'll put the price tag right here of what they would go for on the used market. That's pretty crazy that we've got a real set of PAFs in this one. And just so you can see, we've got the long neck tenon on this one, as you can see here. Got some really nice routing on these neck pickups. You can tell there's a lot of care that went into this guitar. In the cavity there, you can see the maple center block, and if I just turn around here, you can see the electronics for the Veritone. I have to say the condition of these cavities is incredible. They've really done this nicely with the route. You can tell a lot of care has gone into this instrument. Let's have a quick look at the fretware. As you can see, this has been refretted, so these frets look like they're ready to go. It's not like a jumbo fret wire, but definitely is thicker than probably what came on here originally. But yeah, the fretboard's in really good nick. There's only like a blemish around here, which I think you can barely see on camera. But yeah, a really nice piece of rosewood on this one. So in this section of the video, we're going to be talking about the backstory of the ES line, a very iconic line introduced by Gibson that is still produced today. In the late 1950s, Gibson faced a problem. The guitars that they were manufacturing at the time, the fully hollow jazz box guitars, would feed back when plugged into amplifiers, especially at loud volumes. They solved this problem by introducing the solid body guitar in the Les Paul and the SG. They didn't feed back as much, but they still had that creamy, sustainy tone. However, a lot of people didn't feel like they had the dynamic range of the original jazz box guitars. Gibson's answer was revolutionary. They introduced the semi-hollow guitar, also known as the ES guitar, the electric Spanish, and it featured a center block of maple through the guitar, which decreased the feedback. This hybrid design would become one of the most influential electric guitar formats ever made. So if we cast back time to 1958, that was when the first ES model was released in the 345, arguably the most famous. Then in 1959, the es-345 was introduced, and this was known as the stereo experiment, as it included a Veritone and a stereo output jack. The main bonus of the stereo output jack was so you could plug into 2 different amps at the same time. The whole idea was that players could send each pickup to a different amp for a huge spatial sound. It was cutting edge for the time, and it definitely delivered. However, the reality was a little bit different. Of course, the es-345 being stereo meant that you had to have a stereo cable if you wanted to use the guitar. It also had more complex electronics, and people were opting for more of the simpler design of the 335. However, it's a very cool vintage model, and obviously the one we have today is a true stereo guitar, but a lot of people would actually mod them to have mono output jacks later on in time. And then the final addition to the ES family was in 1959 with the es-355. We've had a few of these on the channel, most notably the kind of green-hued one that we had. These guitars are so nice, definitely the most luxurious out of the ES range. It's a very rich-looking ES model. These guitars have been known to come with Bigsbys, they have gold hardware all over, and they had tortoiseshell guards. But there's a little bit of a rundown of the ES line, so you can kind of see the context of when the 345 was introduced. But now that we've gone over the backstory, let's have a closer look at this guitar. So guitarists, now it's time for the tone demonstration of this beautiful vintage Gibson ES model. This is the es-345, so we actually have a stereo cable in this one, but it goes to a mono end going into my pedal board. However, today, we are actually experimenting with a 2-amp rig. You'll see in the back here, we've got the 2-Rock Classic Reverb signature head going into a 212 cabinet, and then we have the Bloomfield drive as well. So you're hearing both amps today, and it's an absolute glorious sound in the room. It's a very decadent rig, very expensive guitar, and 2 extremely expensive amplifiers, so hopefully this thing will sound good. If you're not familiar with the 345, you have a Veritone switch, which
I will show in the demonstration, but in my opinion, it's slightly useless in terms of getting tones that you actually would use. So to start off with, I'm just gonna play the neck, the middle, and the bridge position just so you can hear the difference. So let's just play a simple chord. Such a rich tone. That might be one of the best tones I've ever got from a rig. That's just the TC Electronic force field compressor and the spring reverb from the amps, no other pedals. It sounds incredible. Wow, what a guitar. And obviously you'll be able to hear through the speakers that sounds incredible. This guitar resonates so nicely, and obviously the amplifiers sound amazing too. But you might be asking me, what does it play like? It's a vintage guitar, it's a very old guitar. What does it feel like? It's got a really nice slim neck on it. This is a 61, I believe, so it's got a nice kind of comfortable, slight kind of C to it, but it is still very, very thin. We know this has just gone to Alluvia as well, so it is playing really nicely. It does have quite low frets, but you're going to expect that for a vintage guitar. Obviously, it is original on the fret department. But yeah, it just plays really nicely, and you've only got a little bit of crackle on these knobs, but they're in really good nick. It's an awesome guitar so far. I'm really enjoying it. Let's hear the neck position now. I'm just going to roll down the volume a little bit just to see if we can get a nice kind of jazz tone. You definitely can. That sounds beautiful. So impressed with the way that neck pickup sounds. If we go full on the volume and roll back down the tone a little bit, you're gonna get a really nice woman tone. Tone. In the bridge position, if I put a booster on and roll down the tone, you're getting that kind of Layla sound. Oh, fuck me, that sounds great. Dynamic this guitar is. The more you pick, the more gain you get. The less you pick, you know, the cleaner it gets. And I know that's true for most guitars, but because of these pickups, it's night and day. It's amazing. add even more gain, this is what... That tone is so amazing, and unfortunately it's just not going to translate onto a video. You need to be in the studio with me to really hear the size of this rig when you have like 2 cabinets and such an incredible resonant guitar like this one. When you play so loud like this and you're playing with such a lovely resonant guitar, it's honestly a different experience. I've really enjoyed this today. But in terms of the guitar, obviously it sounds incredible. It has such a nice dynamic response with these pickups. The neck, there's no dead spots. I was able to play Cliffs of Dover on it and there was no problem. It's a really good condition vintage guitar, and obviously yes, it's got the headstock break, it's got some repairs and stuff, but in terms of playability, it's ready to go. So it is a player grade vintage. I mean, it's very expensive, and I'm sure a lot of players unfortunately wouldn't be able to afford this, including myself obviously, but it hopefully will go in the right hands of a player who's going to use it live, because this guitar is incredible. I'd love to own it, but unfortunately, I don't quite have the money for it. So yeah, I'm really impressed with this guitar today, but we're not quite finished just yet. We still have the in the mix test and the gig test, so let's go to the gig test. So guitarists, now it's time for the gig test, my favorite part of these Squealing Pig Guitars videos. For today's episode, of course, we've got the Gibson ES-345. You already heard it in the tone demonstration. But if you're not familiar with this part of the video, basically I stand up, I rock out, and I turn the amplifiers up to half volume. In this case, the classic reverb signature from Two Rock and the Bloomfield Drive. We've got a stereo rig today, as this is a stereo guitar. So first off, let's test out the feedback. I'm just gonna roll up this bridge pickup volume. Wow, that was like a choir of feedback. That was crazy. Wow, that might be one of the greatest fuzz tones we've got on this channel so far. Such a sustaining, awesome tone. But that is the gig test, guys. Now let's sit down and do in the mix.
So guitarists, it's the end of another Squealing Pig Guitars video. I really hope you've enjoyed this one today. If you have, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video and hit the hype points button. If you don't know what the hype points button is, basically it's a new feature that YouTube has introduced so you can super like our videos. So if you're a fan of the channel, if you love these videos, make sure to hit that hype points button. Also, let me know in the comment section below, what do you think of this 1961 es-345? Did you like the tones today? Did you enjoy the stereo rig? Let me know down below. And finally, if you've not subscribed already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers and we could definitely do with your help. So if you enjoy the channel, make sure to support us by hitting the subscribe button. So let's get down to business. What am I gonna rate this es-345 today? So I'm gonna rate this guitar a 9.4 out of 10 in today's episode. I was really impressed by the resonance and the tone of this guitar. The PAFs truly sound incredible. What I noticed mostly was the dynamic range that these pickups have. Even on recreations of these pickups, you can't kind of replicate the age of these pickups and how long this guitar has been together. The resonance with obviously the semi-hollow nature of this guitar alongside the PAF made it a dynamic monster. It was so fun to play this guitar. It was, a very different experience to playing, a solid body guitar. I really like the fact that this guitar has had a refinish and repairs, and a lot of people who collect vintage guitars won't like that, but for me, I'm a player, so when I see, a repair done well and I couldn't even notice where the headstock break is, I'm not gonna bother and it's gonna save me some money in the long run. Although I'm not in a financial position to actually buy this guitar, it's £11,000 or £12,000 at the end of the day. If I was in the market for a guitar like this is something I would go for, something that has the history, the old wood, still has the baritone circuit and all them cool kind of gems to it, even though I don't really use the baritone. But it has all the kind of features that you'd want for this guitar. But yeah, it's dropped in price, like it's not as expensive as, a fully original one would be. Recently, over the last couple of weeks, we've had a ton of vintage guitars in. So if you'd like to see more vintage guitars on the channel, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and tell me down below. You never know what we might have next on the channel. But that is the end of this Squealing Pig Guitars video today, guys. I really hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you soon for another one. But until then, keep rocking, guys. I'll see you soon.